The heavy thump of the three-ring binder hitting the reclaimed wood table echoed in the quiet kitchen. The air smelled of overpriced matcha and raw entitlement. My sister-in-law, Sloane, adjusted her beige cashmere cardigan. She pushed the massive 50-page document across the marble island. "I need you to read this tonight, Harper," Sloane said. Her voice was dripping with that fake, toxic positivity you only see on lifestyle blogs. "It's the aesthetic guidelines for the weekend. We are hosting a wellness retreat for top-tier investors, and your current energy is just a little too chaotic for the brand." I stared at the cover. It was printed on heavy cardstock. It read, "The Oakwood Estate. Curated rules and guest boundaries." My brother Chase stood near the espresso machine. He refused to make eye contact with me. He just sipped his iced coffee. He was an accessory in her life. He was a prop she dressed in neutral tones to fit her Instagram feed. I flipped open the binder. My skin went numb. A rush of icy static flooded my veins. The rules were insane. No non-neutral clothing in the common areas. No cooking strong-smelling food. You must use the basement entrance. You cannot speak to the investors. She was treating me like a rogue NPC in her own Delulu fantasy. She was banishing me to the damp basement of the mountain lodge so I wouldn't ruin her curated main character aesthetic. Sloane lived in a state of terminal delusion. She genuinely believed she owned this multi-million-dollar mountain lodge. Our grandfather built it. Chase, being the golden boy, always assumed it would default to him. Sloane just rode his coattails. She started calling it her flagship property on social media. She built her entire fraudulent wellness brand around the rustic luxury of this house. But they never bothered to check the actual county records. They were too busy filming reels. 18 months ago, the estate was drowning in back taxes. Chase ignored the notices, because confronting reality wasn't part of his morning routine. I didn't remind him, I just quietly stepped in. I paid off the massive liens. I legally bought the deed directly from the trust. I transferred the entire property into a blind LLC that I controlled. I owned the roof over Sloane's perfectly highlighted hair. I owned the marble island she was currently tapping her acrylic nails against. I didn't yell. I didn't throw her stupid binder in the trash. Confronting a narcissist is a waste of oxygen. Instead, my jaw locked. I felt a cold hum vibrating in my teeth. I looked at her pristine, smug face. "Wow," I said. My voice was flat. "You've put a lot of work into this, Sloane." "It's about boundaries, Harper," she sighed. She rolled her eyes. "This retreat is securing a $5 million angel investment for my brand. I need the house to be flawless. Chase agrees it's best if you stay out of sight." I closed the binder. I nodded slowly. "I'll pack my things. I wouldn't want to ruin your investment." I walked to the guest room. I didn't pack for the basement. I packed for the city. While Sloane was busy arranging organic eucalyptus branches in the living room, I opened my laptop. I logged into a secure server. I started reviewing the financial documents I had gathered over the last few weeks. Sloane wasn't just faking an aesthetic. She was committing major corporate fraud. To secure her upcoming investor pitch, she listed the Oakwood Estate as her company's primary collateral. She forged Chase's signature on a fraudulent title claim. And Chase, too scared to upset his boss babe wife, just looked the other way. She was leveraging a house she didn't own to secure millions of dollars in venture capital. She handed me a binder of rules. She thought she was establishing dominance. She had no idea she just handed me the motive to dismantle her entire life. I drove back to the city. I didn't say goodbye. I left them to their beige fantasy. The next morning, I called a premium commercial developer. They were notorious in the region. They bought luxury properties, tore them down, and built massive high-yield corporate retreats. They had been trying to buy the Oakwood land for years. I sold the estate. It was a rapid, aggressive cash buyout. I didn't negotiate for a high price. But I negotiated for something much better. I demanded a very specific, non-negotiable handover date. I timed the legal transfer of the deed to execute at exactly 10 a.m. on a Saturday. It was the exact morning of Sloane's massive, catered investor brunch. The week passed in silence. Sloane posted dozens of stories. She showed off the catered food. She filmed the expensive floral arrangements. She wore a tailored white suit. She posted a photo of the lodge with the caption, "Welcome to the new headquarters of my empire." She was high on her own supply. She was flying too close to the sun. Saturday morning arrived. I drove back up the mountain. I parked my car out of sight, near the tree line. The crisp morning air smelled of pine and impending ruin. Through the massive floor-to-ceiling windows, I watched the brunch. There were 20 wealthy angel investors mingling in the great room. They drank mimosas. They held expensive brochures. Sloane stood at the head of the long dining table. She was speaking into a sleek microphone. She was giving the pitch of her life. At 10:15 a.m., the heavy rumble of diesel engines shook the ground. 3 massive, yellow commercial excavators rolled up the private driveway. They were followed by a fleet of heavy trucks. A team of 20 construction workers in hardhats piled out. They carried clipboards, caution tape, and heavy steel fencing. The low hum of the brunch instantly died. The investors turned toward the windows. They stared in confusion. Sloane's smile froze. She dropped her microphone. It let out a sharp screech of feedback. She marched to the front doors and threw them open. Chase followed right behind her. He looked terrified. "Excuse me," Sloane shrieked. Her carefully curated influencer voice was gone. It was replaced by a harsh, grating panic. "What are you doing? This is a private corporate event? You need to leave my property." A man in a sharp suit stepped out of a black SUV. He was the lead legal representative for the development firm. He walked up the stone steps. He didn't look impressed by her white suit. "Sloane Sterling?" the lawyer asked. His voice was loud. It carried perfectly into the silent house. The investors heard every word. "Yes, I own this brand. I own this house," she yelled. Her face turned a blotchy, uneven red. The lawyer handed her a thick, legally binding folder. "You don't own anything, ma'am," he said coldly. "This property was legally acquired by Apex Development 3 days ago. The deed transfer was finalized this morning. You are currently trespassing on an active, commercial demolition site. We have a court order for immediate eviction." Sloane physically recoiled. The folder slipped from her hands. It hit the stone porch. The pages spilled out. "That's a lie," she gasped. She grabbed Chase's arm. "Chase, tell him! Tell him we own it. Call the police." Chase was hyperventilating. His skin was the color of wet chalk. He looked at the legal documents on the ground. He saw the signature on the seller's line. It was My LLC. "Sloane!" Chase choked out. His voice was a pathetic whisper. "It's Harper. Harper sold it." The investors started murmuring. The atmosphere turned toxic. The lead angel investor, a severe woman with silver hair, stepped onto the porch. "Sloane," the investor said. Her tone was like crushed ice. "Did you just try to secure a $5 million investment using a property you do not legally own?" Sloane opened her mouth. No sound came out. She looked at the excavators. She looked at the caution tape being wrapped around her organic floral arrangements. The sheer magnitude of the fraud was exposed in broad daylight. "That is federal fraud," the investor continued. She pulled out her phone. "We are pulling our term sheets. We are contacting the SEC. Do not ever contact our firm again." The investors flooded out of the house. They walked past the construction workers. They got into their cars and drove away. Sloane collapsed onto the stone steps. She ruined her expensive white suit in the dirt. She grabbed her hair. She sobbed a loud, ugly sound. Her entire fake empire evaporated in less than 5 minutes. She was facing massive federal investigations. She had zero funding. She was being evicted from a house she thought she ruled. I stepped out from the tree line. I walked slowly up the driveway. My shoes crunched on the gravel. Jace saw me. He stepped back. He looked at me like I was a ghost. "Harper," he pleaded, "you can't do this. Where are we supposed to go?" "You can check the binder, Chase," I said. My voice sliced through the cold mountain air. I'm sure Sloan wrote a rule for this exact aesthetic. I didn't stay to watch the excavators tear down the porch. I didn't need to. When you build an entire life out of fake beige filters and stolen confidence, the foundation is already rotten. You don't need a wrecking ball to destroy an illusion. You just have to turn on the lights. I turned my back, walked to my car, and left them standing in the rubble of their own delusion,